So there was an assassination, and no one seems to care. I don't know if this is a troubling sign in American politics or a hopeful sign, but we've gotten a lot of gun violence directed against powerful people. People just do not give a about it. We're all used to gun violence being done against children in schools or against teachers or against minorities in either the grocery stores, their synagogues, or their clubs. But when a politician gets shot at or when a CEO gets shot at, then we would expect a little bit of change, and the media does cover it more. However, the vast majority of Americans could not care any less than they do about this stuff. So it's just hilarious. I think insurance companies are parasites that are just sucking the lifeblood out of this country. Insurance companies are responsible for hundreds of thousands of people's deaths, and just like killing one person is a drop in the bucket compared to the harm that insurance companies do. Well, this is something that I wanted to read about. Are you surprised at the lack of sympathy and outright glee the UHC CEO has gotten after his murder? Why or why not? Not surprised. Fun fact, the reward for info on the shooter is up to $10,000. That's not even enough to cover the average family deductible on most plans. It's true. $10,000 is really low. LOL, 10K, not even his family gives a shit about him. I read the $10,000 is less than 3% of his bi-weekly paycheck. Ain't that some shit? I've never wished a man dead, but I've read some obituaries with great pleasure. Sometimes you go to the funeral just to make sure the motherfucker's in the casket. I'm not celebrating this guy's death and I'm not wishing for more of it, but it has gotten to a point where I'm starting to wonder if stuff like this is the only way things will change. I no longer believe the system will ever self-correct. He died quickly, unlike all the folks who were denied care. The shooter has gotten more coverage than UHC ever provided. None of the reaction online surprised me. People die all the time and I give them no sympathy. I know nothing about it, and I'm not going to feign sympathy for this person who's only famous because they're rich and are rich only because they let their customers die. I have sympathy for anyone who is a customer of a health insurance company that denies claims at 2 times the rate of the average insurance company. So obviously Reddit is more like left-wing than the average part of the internet, I would say. But if we take even a look at this Fox 11 Los Angeles video that was posted 2 hours ago, it's too bad they go through this much effort for millionaires but not for average citizens. In 2019, UHC's denial rate was 8.7%. Thompson became CEO in 2021, and by 2022 the rate of denial had increased to 22.7%, so almost 3 times. We regret to inform you that you did not receive prior authorization for treatment of lead poisoning, therefore your claim has been denied. Look at how little they care when us commoners suffer and die, and then look at how deterministic their language surrounding this event is. Now they know they can be hurt.
Sorry, but you can't get me to feel bad when shitty things happen to shitty evil people. While under that CEO's leadership, they deployed an AI model that had a 90% error rate to automatically deny healthcare claims from people who all had families of their own that are sick, dying, and poor. Trying to get life-saving treatment, 90% error rate, and they knew how flawed the system was and kept up with it because they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't even give a fuck about him. The meeting was at 8 a.m. and they resumed the meeting after they found out he was murked on the street. They continued business as usual. Yeah, that motherfucker chose to be in his position of CEO knowing that he had millions of Americans' lives in his hands every single day and decided that the profit, whatever they were paying him, was enough to have that on his mental every single day. He didn't give a fuck. He does not give a fuck. True wrongs don't make a right, blah, 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 blah. His stack of bodies is 1,000,000 times higher than the one singular hitman. You're seriously gonna look me in the face and say, well, he had a family. So did the thousands of people that he said, oh, I actually don't care if you live or die or become broke and go into thousands of dollars of debt because I am rejecting your claim. He would literally take the money that he saved on letting you pass away and take his family on a nice vacation. What do you mean? What do you mean? How many families lost a loved one because they couldn't afford the life-saving treatment that they needed? How many? Thousands, yeah. There's no sympathy for any of those people, but we're supposed to feel bad for him? I'm so confused. You pick and choose? Another thing to be noted, there was literally a woman running out of the hotel at the exact same distance to the hitman as Brian was. And the man completely let her go. It was a targeted attack. I don't believe he's a flight risk. I'm walking around the streets and I'm not scared for my life because I don't profit off of people's pain and suffering. And he chose that position. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know why you want me to sit here and cry about it. I'm crying for the people that lost family members because of him. So
When she was talking about how these other CEOs that were a part of the meeting that he was going to resume the meeting anyway, like they're just heartless. It reminded me so much of this clip from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Look at those chips.
Do you
bingo
win?
is the thing.
I do win.
It's completely random, bingo.
I know it's random.
Totally random.
I have a winning percentage that
Nobody
that
does.
defies logic.
You win more often than the other people.
More often than the other
He gets
people.
more
Exactly.
diagonals than anybody.
What?
This doesn't make any sense.
Oh my God. What? Cedar Sinai. Okay, we'll be right there.
Is this a joke?
Mayuki. Yoshi tried to commit suicide.
What?
He tried to commit suicide. Cedar Sinai. I gotta leave. I'll be back.
Okay.
Get the coat. Get the coat. Keys.
It's in here. It's in here.
Let's go.
Suicide. Jeez Louise.
Oh, wow. I just saw him last night. I had dinner with him.
You did?
Yeah.
Did he seem weird?
Well,
Was he nervous? Was he anxious?
Could he have lost face or been ashamed or humiliated or anything?
So, what should we do?
well, we're here.
We are here.
That's true because, I had to really finagle to get out tonight. I'm kind of happy to be anywhere.
And we can't leave the house. They're gone.
You don't have keys.
I mean, we don't know the alarm code or anything.
And a pizza is coming.
Got a pizza,
coming. Yeah, I got a pizza coming.
And he tried. He didn't actually kill himself. He just
true.
tried.
That's a
Right,
very
right,
good
right.
distinction because tried, if he said he tried to, that
Right, it'd be
means he didn't, which means he's alive.
Okay.
He's here.
Thank God. This is lucky to be out.
Pair four is best.
I'm going to see what else is in the fridge.
Okay, so anyway, I just thought that was so hilarious. It's like, he's dead. What do we do? Well, we're here. I mean, I had to cancel a lot of appointments to make this meeting happen, so let's just go on with it. Anyway, that's just so funny. Yeah, a lot of people don't give a shit, and the obvious answer is just because health insurance companies are not the greatest companies. Like, they are the kind of the interface between you and your doctor. They are called the middlemen for a reason, because they quite literally are the middleman between you and your doctor. Like, you can't just pay your doctor, you have to pay your insurance company, and your insurance company pays your doctor. So basically, insurance companies don't really serve any purpose. They just serve to collect money from people, and then they try as hard as possible to prevent any of that money from going back to their customers. That's like the point of insurance companies. I think that insurance is a good idea in general, where you do pay in a little bit at a time, and then when you need it, that money will be given to you. That's kind of the benefit of living in a society. Sorry to go all Joker mode on you, but we live in a society and we should have kind of social insurances. I just think that should not be a for-profit venture. I think that should be something that the government takes over and is a non-for-profit aspect of the government. Medicare for all. I mean, pretty simple. That's like kind of simple analysis. What I think is a little bit more interesting is the fervor and the actual just like pure hatred that we are seeing coming out of this situation. So what I want to talk about is how, like, look at all of these comments. It's too bad they go through this much effort for millionaires, but not for average citizens. People repeating more leftist talking points, where it would seem like in any other context, this would be something that leftists talk about, where the wealthy are taking profits from poor people, from the non-wealthy, and they're like maximizing their profits while paying their workers as little as possible. So like the denial rate increased by almost 3%, like 3 times. Look at how little they care when us commoners suffer and die. Then look at how deterministic their language surrounding this event is. Now they know they can be heard. So what I think is really interesting about this is that it's almost like this country's been so heated up to the point that a tiny little spark will ignite a huge uproar. And people are feeling very fed up. They're feeling that their paycheck just isn't covering enough of their lives. It's not enough for them. They can't afford all of the food they want. They can't afford to go on vacation. They can't afford all of the healthcare that they want. They can't afford to live where they want. All of these systems serve to just extract as much wealth out of people as possible, and that is just crushing them. It's crushing their spirits. And so when there is this violent reprisal against one of these aspects of the system that serves to crush people, that is like a flashpoint, and people are drawn to that. People will look at that, and it really serves to kind of galvanize everyone. And people are now up in an uproar about insurance companies. And yeah, why is my insurance company so bad? Like, you do so much violence upon us, your customers, and a little bit of violence of one guy getting shot a few times gets this much coverage. That is unfair. So as bad as insurance companies are, I do think it's more interesting to talk about the pressures that people are feeling, why there is this uproar in this one specific instance, and how can leftists and Democrats in the future try to harness, not even in the future, like currently, how can leftists and progressives try to harness this anger, this resentment that has been building up so much because of, again, capitalism is an inherently unstable system, and it puts so much pressure on the working class. It extracts as much wealth as possible out of them, and that pressure is going to build and build and build. And then we have a situation like this where it is kind of a classic like Robin Hood scenario, and there are so many aspects to this scenario that makes you almost root for the guy who did the assassination. The fact that he was like very professional, he just like fired a few bullets and left. Like, people use the word cinematic. You have the perfect angle from the CCTV outside of the hotel. You have the face of the shooter, and like it's an attractive white guy, and he was like smooth. He wrote messages on his bullets. What was written on the bullets? I think it was like delay, defer, defend or something was written on his bullets. Like, that's kind of another like almost a romanticized aspect of it too. So the fact that he like rode away on an electric e-bike, like there's so much that makes people identify with this shooter and not really care at all that the CEO of a insurance company died. So anyway, I think that like what this shows is people do care about the economy, and if a Democrat or a progressive candidate could get up onto the national stage and say, I am going to fight against these corporate institutions that have been sucking you dry for decades. You can look at the effective pay and how that's decreased compared to corporate profits over the past 50 years. I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to claw that back to make it a more equitable situation for you. I'm going to slash their profits. I'm going to tax the hell out of them. I'm going to use that tax to actually create healthcare. I'm going to destroy the private insurance companies, because private insurance companies serve to only try to make money off of you, and I want insurance to work for you. I don't want to make money off of you with insurance. I think that that message is going to blow everything else out of the water. If someone comes in to some kind of national election with that message, they are going to skyrocket ahead, because it's not a left, it's not a right message. In terms of American politics, Americans view politics as left-right if you're racist or you're not racist. That's essentially what it is. Trump, he's a little bit racist. He'll say some edgy things. He's not woke, right? That he codes conservative. I mean, his policies are also economically conservative, but American voters don't really give a fuck about economic conservatism or anything like that. They just think, are you going to trigger the libs? Leftists and Republicans want to have populist economic policies. So if you have a populist economic policy and you make that your main focus, then it doesn't matter whether you're woke or not. It doesn't matter whether you support trans people in sports or not. What matters is you're talking to people in very specific ways that is very meaningful to them, and you are promising broad, sweeping, effective changes that they're going to feel a real change in their lives. And so when we talk about guys like Cenk, who says, I saw a poll and it said that 57% of Americans don't support trans women playing in women's sports, so that's why Kamala Harris should campaign against trans women in women's sports. He's like insane. insane. When Bill Maher says that the NAACP is telling black people they shouldn't travel to Florida and that's why Kamala Harris lost the election, he's insane. All that matters is you have real economic populist policies and everything else will follow suit. Once again, I think this is like a big flashpoint, and people are so fed up against this system that they are even willing to cheer on violence to try to scrape any kind of power that they can get from these corporations that have just been sucking them dry. They are just straight up parasites.